If you were looking for a quarterback, tight end, or defense to stream, here are some options that are rostered in under 50% of sleeper redraft leagues to consider. Slightly cheating because Jared Goff is rostered in 50% of leagues, but he's averaging 17.09 fantasy points per game. Green Bay is a tougher matchup, but he's shown some upside. He's had 2 games of 4 passing touchdowns, 2 games above 320 passing yards, and 2 games above 26 fantasy points. Marcus Mariota faces the Chargers. He's currently a top 10 overall quarterback. He averages 16.91 fantasy points per game with 4 weeks above that. Utilizes his legs a ton. He has 3 rushing touchdowns. He's coming off of season highs in passing yards and passing touchdowns with 253 and 3. I'm going to go back to Andy Dalton here because he's been the QB3 across his last 2 games. He's combined in those games for 6 touchdowns and 590 passing yards. He faces Baltimore on Monday night, who give up the 8th most points per game to quarterbacks and the 5th most passing yards per game. Tyler Conklin has had 16 targets across his last 2 games played. He went off when he scored 2 touchdowns last week. Buffalo is a rough matchup across the board, but maybe Tyler Conklin is a better outlet for Zach Wilson versus pushing the ball down the field. Cade Otton the last 2 weeks has been on the field for 81 and 91% of the snaps. Through these games, he's seen 5 targets in both of them. 2 weeks ago, he had 64 receiving yards, so he has some upside there. Being on the field a ton, having consistent targets from Brady, and showing signs of upside is worth noting against the Rams this week. Mark Andrews still did not practice on Thursday. Should he miss this week, Isaiah Likely is the number 1 stream on this whole video. Last game, he had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 77 receiving yards and a touchdown, 19.7 fantasy points. Likely has top 5 upside for the tight end position if Mark Andrews misses. Quick note with Juwan Johnson, who plays in that same game. He's seen some okay targets the last few weeks. He has 3 games above 40 receiving yards. He scored 2 touchdowns against Arizona, so with people banged up with the Saints, maybe he has some touchdown upside that you can chase. For defenses, take a look at the Chiefs, who play the Titans. Ryan Tannehill did not practice on Thursday, which could mean another Malik Willis start, who only threw the ball 10 times last week, and one of them was for an interception. Before the bye, Kansas City had a solid game with 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, and a safety for their defense. Then last, the Miami Dolphins face my Chicago Bears. Fields has looked solid the last few games, but the Bears are a bottom 10 team in points scored per game.